G'day folks, welcome to an EcoFarmers Discovery, the audiobook companion podcast. Join Ewan Campbell as he takes a deep dive into his book, uncovering all the secrets of soil health, biology, and true farm independence. You can listen along to his book on Spotify or download from Audible, and then catch us here as we deep dive into the events of each chapter. We're up to chapter 5. Let's go. Alrighty, Ewan. Chapter 5. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. So you moved to a 200-hectare block in Waihi. Sounds like a fresh start. What was the most exciting part of that move?
Wasn't milking cows, and I didn't have to drive the tractor.
Oh, that's good. Any initial impressions of that land?
Look, one of the big things was like flying up to Great Barrier in the summertime from Tiara, where we grew up on the swamp. We'd be dry as a chip. Barren, hot, droughty sort of weather. You go up to Great Barrier and you'd fly down the east coast of the Coromandel and parts of it are green, and Waihi was always green. And I'm going, oh, this isn't a rain belt. I like it here. I don't like being dry. And so that was a huge part. And getting there, going to look at the farm, we went over there in one afternoon and they'd had a shower the night before. We were dry as buggery at home. And it was quite moist there. And I'm going, I like this. I really like this. Climate, off the main road, everything brilliant. I forgot to ask for the soils. I didn't really know at the time. I'd grown up on poor soils. And when you put out the old big, I want clean water, because we had iron water on the peat.
Yeah.
I wanted to be off the main road, because we had a main road running through the middle of the farm. I want this, I want that, and good climate. But I didn't say I want good soils, because I didn't know what they were. And so, I left the peat farm, and, well, one thing about the peat farm, you were accessible to get product on there, lime or whatever, easy with a tractor and whatever, as long as you didn't sink through the surface. But different on this hill country. You had to be a bit more, we could get to about a bit over half with the, spreader truck, 2/3 maybe. So, there was limitations, and then there was cost too. So that wasn't asked for, that lime part was going to be a problem, getting the pH up and all that sort of thing. So, we jumped right on in, and, oh, bugger.
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise. So what about from dairy to beef, though?
Look, when I went over there, we took our heifer replacements from the dairy cows the first year, and I bought a whole lot more, and I was going to bring them up. So it was sort of like selling a herd of cows 2 years in a row. Yeah. And it worked pretty well, although we were bloody tight on feed and it was hard to get them to the condition I wanted, but we did all right. But I also took my cull cows, and so I was rearing 2 calves per cow on the cow. So there was a change. It was still full on. It just wasn't in the cow shed. It was in my own little shed with calves.
So you didn't find it just liberating?
No, it was bloody hard.
Significant shift.
Yeah, totally, but it was mine. It was supposedly mine.
Yeah, right.
And you just launched into it, and there wasn't anyone telling you what to do. And, it brought lots of interesting challenges.
Did you have anyone in your life that was a significant influence on shifting to beef? That you had watched do it and you thought, I can do that?
No, well, we grew up doing it, didn't we?
Right, okay.
And I just I want to go back there.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the cattle. The one thing about the dairy side of things, I loved watching the changes in the cows with the breeding and the understanding what you were bringing forward. But having to milk them every day to actually see that, it wasn't that exciting, especially on a 30-degree summer's day in January. It's the worst place in the world to be.
How did you manage that much rainfall with twice the rainfall?
It runs off. It goes through the soil. It's just completely different. Like, it wasn't a drain on the farm.
I was going to say, it sounds daunting. Promising on the one hand, on the other.
No, fantastic.
Really?
Really, really good free draining soil. To a point, it was really free draining, but because there wasn't enough nutrients and everything to hold it together.
Right.
So the rain had to come reasonably often, otherwise it got dry quite quickly there. But it was way better than being on the peat.
Any big surprises about managing that much water?
You got wet real quick.
Okay. All right. So,
as time went on the farm, there was a couple of times there where the water was just phenomenal. where the farm was made up of 3 ridge lines going down, and they had tracks down, and they used to go across the bottom to go to the other parts. When it really let rip, and it only happened probably 3 or 4 times, you couldn't get across the bottom because the creeks going down were so over the everything. You had to come back up the top, across, and go back down again. So it was a bit of a pain in the ass when it was wet and you didn't want to be out there. It was actually took longer because you had to come up the farm, go back down the farm, up the farm, and back down the farm to actually get what you wanted to get done.
Right.
But it disappeared real quick. It didn't, it wasn't like on the peat where once you got saturated, you were saturated fully. But, it's changed now in Waihi that, like, where we are on Dad's block, man, it doesn't take much to make a mess now because the soil's so fertile that the stock make a bit of a trampling, but it comes back good. So it was a complete change. I mean, I was growing up on flatland, and we went to these hills. And, there's one incident I didn't put in the book, and I can recall it quite vividly. We had a cow got in the creek down the bottom of the farm, and I went to the neighbour. I said, look, I've got a cow in the creek, and I don't think I can get her out with just my tractor. Can you come down? So Kerry Smith came down the hill with me, and I had a little Fiat 550 four-wheel drive, and I got to one part about halfway down the farm, and the bloody thing jumped out of four-wheel drive, and it took off, and I couldn't stop it. I had to jump off.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was pretty out there. Anyway, the tractor headed off down the hill towards the forestry, and all I thought was I was going to see cast iron smashed into a million pieces.
Yeah, right.
But it had in the power steering, it had a crab that it naturally turned right by itself. And so we tore off down this hill, and at one stage the back wheel was about 6 feet off the ground, and it was slowly turning right, and it just kept turning right. And over an arc of about 100 metres, it turned and round, and I don't know how it did it, but it turned and kept going around, and then it came back up the hill, and it stalled.
That's an Italian safety feature. Just go around in circles.
It was crazy. Anyway, Kerry Smith came over to me and says, geez, Huey, if I had the chance of watching Debbie Does Dallas or watching Huey going down the hill on the tractor, I'd watch Huey going down the hill on the tractor any day.
It's funny.
And that such is the force that it hit at times, and I don't know how it didn't flip over. The back wheel actually bent the rim. So for the next how long I had the tractor, you went down the road and the back wheel was yeah. So, man alive, that was probably the biggest wake-up call to being on hills. I'm just about welded that bloody four-wheel drive shut on that thing, and that wasn't going to happen again. But, yeah, it was a bit of a, okay, this is the dangers of the hill. If things go wrong, they go wrong quick and in a different way. So, like in the peat, you got stuck. Well, oh, bugger. But going down the hill at 30 miles an hour on a tractor that you don't want to be is not a good idea.
No, not at all. God. It sounds like a jet ski that got loose and then goes around in circles. It's like, when you mentioned in the book the electric netting for sheep, was that new at the time?
There was very few people using it. I know
you'd
that.
seen it being done.
Dad got hold of it. I'm not sure where he got the process from. I've actually still got some of this in the shed at home.
Yeah, I had to ask you what it was made of, right?
Yeah, well, it's the same as today farmers use reels with pegs in it, but this was actually a netting, and we'd pull out. Came in 50-metre links, and we had 2 or 3 of them to hook together across the paddock, and we had a few lambs got their heads stuck in it like the old fish to start with. But
I was going to say if there were any mishaps with it.
Only a couple to start with. Then they learnt to keep away from it.
Sure.
Yeah, worked a treat. But
if you're stuck in it, continually being shocked, I don't think you'd ever want to do that again.
They didn't.
No.
They didn't get the chance to.
No, right. All right, tell me about willowweed and lambs.
Well, they just what we found was that if you control something, if we'd let the lambs in the paddock right across the whole, they would have gone around and eaten all the grass and left the willowweed.
Right.
But because we were break fencing them and they were hungry, they'd go in there and they'd eat the grass, willowweed and everything, clean it off, bang. So we got a better control. And like this is what we'd done with rushes with the Angus cows. And
you joked they wouldn't have tasted great though.
No.
No.
Well, I know you are what you eat. I mean, willowweed doesn't taste very nice. I can tell you that now.
Right. Did you ever think, why am I doing this?
No, not at the time. I mean, it made perfect sense at the time. To say that the use of livestock to control pasture, I was brought up with. Right from the start, you used the electric fence, you grazed paddocks, you got them to eat the weeds, you got them to eat the rushes. Angus cows would eat rushes at the right time of the year. You'd throw a bit of hay on, a bit of salt. And so there was no need to get the tractor out. Diesel costs money. Cows don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you let them go to it. And so we were well attuned to using the livestock to manage the process. Big thing is that they respond to fertility, so if the weed is a bit sweeter or something like that, it gets nailed. So as you're changing the fertility, you can use the cattle better and better.
At that stage, were you using your own brews?
No, not there. We were
okay,
just in that changeover when we went to Waihi. That was the big question about what are we going to do?
Yeah, well, the reason I asked that was because, if I recall, you were trialling different fertilizers, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, as soon as I got to Waihi, I put down trial plots and I tried out superphosphate, triples, was it potassic super? I got some fly ash from Te Aomori Dairy Factory.
What is fly ash?
It's the leftover of the coal furnace.
Ah, that's right. Okay. You let the cattle choose their favourite, right?
Well, I just let in the trial plots. I didn't fence it off to see how much grew so much. I was watching how much grew, and I measured it with a electronic plate meter sort of thing. And so I knew how much was growing, and I was measuring it each month, and then I'd let the livestock in and see what they ate and looked underneath. And so it was a case of we've got to do something, and whatever they'd done before wasn't the answer. So that was the critical thing.
Right.
Because they weren't the place didn't grow the grass like what they sort of proposed it was. So obviously whatever he did wasn't working. So I looked at what he did and going, well, that's not going to work, so I'm going to do something else.
Okay, but if you were letting the cattle choose their favourite, how do they respond differently?
Look, they'll just go across to the little patch in the trial block, and they'll clean up the piece that had the fly ash on or something like that. And
it's
so
like eating your favourite meal. And
that's it. Yeah, they went there and they just okay, they like that. And then when I dug underneath those plots, this one's got worms but no grass grub. And then I'd go to the superphosphate one and had grass grub and no worms. And so it was very obvious. I didn't know anything about soil fertility on a larger scale at that stage, but this is working and that's not. So it's not it was a pretty simple equation.
So
really.
That's the early My Farm is My Lab experiments.
That's it.
Yeah.
Our farms are all our labs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the most surprising insight from those first experiments?
What they were trying to push on us to buy wasn't working.
Yeah.
It was just basic, simple shit like that. It was, if it don't work, don't do it again. I think they call it the signs of madness.
Yeah.
Doing something over and over again and expecting a different result.
That's the definition of, that's right. Yeah. Okay, so fly ash and chicken manure mixed together. What gave you that inspiration?
Well, I had two trial plots. I had chicken manure on one and I had the fly ash on the other. Both of them worked not too bad, but I could see there was different attributes about each one which had an effect. And I go, I think I'm better off to actually take the two best results, mix them together and get a bit of a cross-section across the board. And it did. It worked quite well. It worked quite well. Not me understanding fully what was going on, but it did actually grow us more grass than we did before.
Yeah. Then looking at stock numbers and those struggles, your first winter with 2,800 units sounded really tough.
Oh, the farm was nothing like what was proposed, and I had break fenced everything, and I'd managed every blade of grass you could possibly manage. But that's what happens when you buy something. It's like, oops, it's not as good as what they said it was, and I sort of went in there with a lightly stocked regime to try and make sure that everything was tickety-boo. Thank God I did.
You didn't regret the move, did you?
Hell no.
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 Yeah, I know you're better than that. You're not the sort of person that regrets the things you do. But, it's challenging, I suppose. Some people might.
Yeah, well, look, the thing about dairy farming, the check turns up every month and it goes up and down. Like the payout at the time had gone from $4.20 to $6.40 a kilogram of butterfat. So there's
a hell of a
a hell of a jump. Yeah. So if things had gone
like a third more or something.
Yeah, 50% more. So
right.
And so, some years are great, some aren't so great. And really, in that situation, I wasn't in control with all the facts and figures either, because I was the share milker, and we had high costs. So some years you did really well, and other years you worked your ass off for nothing. So where was the total gain in it for me personally, other than working my ass off? Yes, the farm continues to get better, but it wasn't my farm.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and you definitely want to have something that's yours. If we go for the sake of the boffins and the people who geek a little bit on farming systems, let's cover some of this off. Tall grass grazing. So you mentioned tall grass grazing proponents. Do you think farming often rediscovers old practices and rebrands them as new ideas?
Yeah. Well, most of the tall grass grazing in that was introduced, or supposedly introduced, out of Africa. And there's a couple of really prominent people who brought this process in of actually, grazing very tall pastures. Now, they're in a very dry, brittle environment, and it works exceedingly well over the winter months there because they have dry climate. So it's like standing hay. Like in the summer, it grows, grows beautifully, and then it dries out. In the winter, there's frost, cold, but there's no degradation over the winter period. So they get to graze the grass and graze it and then graze it again. So they go through it about 3 times over the winter on a very low rainfall. Like
a good use of the resource.
Totally. And in our climate, you can't do that because in the winter, it's wet and it all falls over and it goes rotten. But in the summertime, you're looking like what you'd call deferred grazing, where you might defer a paddock and just leave it there as standing hay and then go back and break fence it off instead of making a crop. Mm-hmm. But these issues are like going tall grass or something like that. You actually have to have tall grass to start with. We couldn't even grow it tall. It would all fall over. So then you have to understand, well, why could some places grow it tall and others not? And so those tall grasses on a drier, more heavier clay soils, timothy, cocksfoot, prairie grass, all those sorts of things handle that process really well. And in the South Island and a few places in North Island, you can actually do it really well in a dry climate. Like you actually set up a few paddocks like that as your summer crop and braze it off. But that was not the case with us. We couldn't do that. We just wouldn't stand up. And over time, I've understood the nutrition side of that, and it's the lack of silicon to actually grow those types of grasses.
Okay. Let's talk about soil health and cycles. You talk about the importance of soil biology a lot. Why do you think these natural cycles are often overlooked in modern farming?
Don't make money out of them.
Okay.
Except the farmer does.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The thing about it is it's all a part of a system of nature. And what we don't take into account when trial work is undertaken is what's the baseline, what are you trying to achieve, how is that going to impact the multiple factors across the board, and it's really, we're just going to trial this product. Going, well, what's the use of one product if you don't know what your baseline is, and how does this affect the whole downstream process? So if you don't actually have a baseline and you don't know what you're actually trying to achieve, the trial's worthless.
Yeah. Just going back to the trial plots, actually, is an animal that has a preference for a certain meal or supplement type on the land taste better when they've got the one they like?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. As we progress through the book and that, there's no doubt nutrition rules. And over time when we had the butcher shop, we, for 15, 16 odd years, we processed animals every week. And what we did on the farm was expressed in those animals.
So in terms of grazing lessons, you described a danger of grazing plants too early. How's that understanding of photosynthesis and soil health shaped your approach to farming?
Well, this approach with the tall grass grazing and everything is like you don't want livestock on a piece of ground for longer than 3 days. Even if that's 1, 2, 3 breaks, because after the 3rd day, it'll be starting to sprout again. If you bite that off, you're wasting energy for the plant. The plant shoots itself back up so it can photosynthesize.
Right.
If its leaf can't get up and start photosynthesizing, you've stolen the energy from under the ground, and the plant then goes, would you just leave me alone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, basically on and off. And so every as farms get better, and I mean even it's happening at Dad's place right now, we're still putting in water troughs because the size of the break gets smaller because there's more feed growing, and we need to put a trough in a different place so that we can actually only graze them for the 3 days and then get them off again. And this is how farms slowly evolve. You know, things have to change as you're growing more and more feed and how you're evolving with the type of livestock and how you manage them.
Do you have many bugger moments on this farm?
Oh, lots.
Yeah. Any funny ones you can remember?
I can remember Reese Mello was working with us, and we used to make our own water troughs. And, you know, like it was a big deal on some of these paddocks to get a water trough into the middle of it. So at least you could break them into 4. Some of these paddocks were still like 20 acres. So we could get it down to 4 and this. And I remember going up the hill and we were just about at the place where we were going to drop this water trough off, and it was on the carry tray of the tractor, and it slipped off the back. Well, it ended up in the bottom of the gully, didn't it?
No.
In a million pieces.
Bugger.
Yeah, bugger. So as like, these are the things about dealing with hills. So, you know, next time we backed up the hill.
Yeah, smart.
To push it off. And so you just, there's lots of things that you do and you go, oh, God, why did I do that? I was in a hurry. You had to get a rugby practice or something like that, and all of a sudden it's now taken me 3 times as long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and making water troughs wasn't my premium idea of fun, but it did save quite a bit of money, and, you know, there was one of those things that, and it, you know, really helped keep the farm ticking, moving water troughs and getting things in place and that, so lots of bugger moments, huge numbers of them.
In those early days, before you started making your own brews and you're coming to the realizations on the cost of things on a farm, the inputs and all of the expenses, when did you realize the modern farm's input costs versus what it could be? In other words, it didn't have to be so high.
Well, I guess the thing is that you've only got so much to spend. And so when I first did those trial plots, I worked out what have I got to spend and what result am I likely to get from what I spend. Up until then, I don't know of any other fertiliser trials from the fertiliser companies or the universities. They'd all gone, oh, we put this on and this is what happened, and going, hold on here, I've only got $80 to hectare to spend or whatever. How much can I spend and expect to get a result? That was really ingrained in me right from the start, especially on the dairy farming. And this is where dairy farming seems to get completely lost, is that dairy farming reality is you're looking at profit per hectare. Not kilograms of milk solids produced, it's what you have as a profit at the end of the year. We were well driven by that, and that's why I was quite happy to leave the dairy farm, because the costs in the ploughing and the drainage and that added to the cost per hectare of production. Okay? So when you're looking at this process and going, well, where's the happy point of production, cost, and profit? And so, oh, well, if I put all of these inputs in, I can produce this. But then I didn't make any money. Or if I can put this amount of inputs in and produce 80% of what that absolute premium is, but I've got the biggest gap of profit at the top, at the in between. Now, this is where I see it all the time with dairy farmers, specifically dairy farmers who have, oh, well, we did 1,500 kilograms of milk solids per hectare. Going, oh, yeah, really? How much did you bring into the farm? Oh, we only bought so much palm kernel. Oh, yeah. How much nitrogen? Oh, yeah. How much is the carbon fallen in your soil? And they actually haven't done an assessment of cost of what their farm has actually produced, really produced, what the farm produced and what they bought in to make the production.
Are they getting diminishing returns based on their high inputs of fertilizers and chemicals and infrastructure?
It's beggars belief that some farmers can make $4,000 to $5,000 net per hectare, and others can only just make 500. And they're waiting on, they're looking at the shift in production costs on the payout going up 20 or 30 cents a kilogram for their extra profit.
They're hanging off something they can't control.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
And the thing that you can control is your input costs for outward production. And they've lost control of that, absolutely. And this is, when I was in the previous chapters about going and to the maize seminars and things like that.
Yeah.
Like we looked at, we need to make the paddocks better. What have we got that's the tools that are at hand? Chicken manure was available. It was a nitrogen source. Lime was available. Cool. Let's whack in. We didn't use any chemicals. We didn't do any of those things. So we grew the lowest cost maize you possibly could grow, and we got a hell of a good crop. Well, I thought that's what it was all about.
Sure.
Okay, but these guys that went into it probably cost them 3 to 4 times the amount to grow the crop than what we spent. Now, there's no profit at the end of that, and there's a whole lot more work. So this is what I'm saying is like people need to get their heads around input costs against outward costs for profit in between. So the most profitable dairy farmer may only do 800 kilograms a hectare if he's organic. His costs might be $4 a kilogram a hectare, $4 a kilo to produce that milk solid, and he's getting $11 a kilo. So, 11, that's $7 a kilo, maybe.
Maybe.
You know, if he's really good. So he didn't have to do masses and masses of production to actually make a decent profit. Now, there's other guys that are saying that they're doing 1,500 kilograms a hectare, and their costs are $8, and the payout was $8.20.
Oof.
Okay, so now look at the profit margin in that. You're squeaking everything you do. And what you've done is you've paid everybody else first. The feed, the fertilizer, and all it did was it made you run.
Yeah, yeah.
And that really, over time, with having my own block in Waihi, it was always about how do we actually produce that cheaper and better quality at the right cost?
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's nothing left for anybody.
Is there anything in there that you just wish other farmers would realise?
They are starting to. They are starting to. And I guess this is part of doing this podcast thing is to actually start to awaken people that you're feeding everybody else, but not yourself. That's what these big, days of Dairy NZ and all that sort of stuff is that they demand you pay them money to do the research that keeps all of the companies and all their mates in business.
So do people listening to this need to now go out and start using their farm more as labs, or, the trial plots and the things that you've done, or can you kind of shortcut that process for them and explain something that, look, take it from me, I've done this?
Yeah, I mean, that's the brilliance of, I suppose,
what
where we've
direction
gone
does
to.
that send you into?
Oh, look, we've pretty much sorted out, and I'm not saying it's finished by any means, because things keep improving all the time, is that the reality is there is a tried and true method now to finding out the limiting factors and get your farm on track quite quickly. And I keep telling people, look, if I can take your farm and give you what you got this year in regard to production-wise, but reduce the costs and bring your animal health issues and a whole lot of other issues into line, so you'll save some money there, it's next year after that you'll start to really do a lot better production-wise. It takes 12 months to sort your farm out. You shouldn't go back. You should never go backwards.
That's tough. That's tough for a desperate farmer, though, isn't it? To buy that, because you're saying we're going to do something now, but it won't be till next year that we see.
Well, the benefit in the first year is the livestock health.
Okay.
And you're giving them the same production that they were getting before. So you're not going backwards.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people say, oh, well, it'll take you 5 years before you get this right. And you go, no, it'll take 12 months to sort your ground out so that it's ready to actually fire. But in that 12 months, you won't go in reverse. We'll keep this thing ticking for you, and we'll have to implement a few strategies and bits and pieces, but nothing outside of the cost that what you were spending before. Generally, 60 or 70% of what you were spending before. So there are major savings.
So they just rework what they were spending into something more productive.
Yes.
And actually save money in the process. That's amazing. Taking a more natural route.
Totally. Well, it's just limiting factors. As I say, people don't understand what the limiting factor is. It could be aluminium. It could be mineral deficiency. It could be anything. It could be any one of about 40 different things that need to be looked at and go, there it is.
So it's not just their Olsen P.
Oh, hell no. It's not just your Olsen P. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Thinking about Woodland Road, you said it was challenging, but it was magical in some ways. What did this time teach you about resilience and adaptability in farming?
Well, if you want something bad enough, the answers will come. You know, and you've just got to be completely and utterly open to them. And I mean, I remember sitting out, because the farm was up at 1,000 feet and it dropped down 250 feet. And on this ridge line, you could sit up there and look out at Mere Island down to Tauranga and all that. Yeah. And I was sitting on this, looking out and going, this is just a stunning place to be, but how the hell can I make this work? And the universe must have said, he asked.
He asked.
And it was like being at the base of Hooker Falls with information that started to come. There was the floods of information that came and the books to read and the stuff. It was just like, if I wasn't working on the farm, I was reading. If I, or I was going to get some stuff, or I was trying the stuff out here and trying the stuff out there. It was like, I asked and the universe delivered.
Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? Sometimes all the answers are right in front of us, but we don't realise that they're their answer. They are the answers to our problems.
Oh,
you know, things play in front of you. You see things in front of you. A book passes in front of you, and if you just take notice, it actually. Oh no, it's a bit woo-woo, but it might actually contain the answers that you're seeking.
Over time, you can shortcut a lot of things. If it doesn't feel right,
that's the barometer.
Don't go there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been burnt by a lot of things when it hasn't felt right, but this must be the way to go. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And it's burnt me badly. And I look at it and somewhere inside the old body is going, nah, that's not worth looking. Yeah, that's worth looking at. Let's go and have and we don't trust that enough. You'll see it, when we get down onto the, the EMF and the problems around houses and things like that further on. People get absolutely wasted by EMF, but they actually don't take on account where's that horrible feeling coming from.
Yeah, because it's just there and we don't question it necessarily. I think actually trusting your gut might be the answer to this question. Do you have a warning to others based on your experiences moving to a new block of land? Anything that,
Like knowing what I know now, the first thing I do is take a soil test before you even go there.
It's like getting your car tested by the AA before you buy it.
Absolutely. What are you buying? I mean, when you take a total soil test with these farms and you look at it and go, yeah, buy it. Or, have you figured that this is going to cost X amount to get you to where you need to go if you buy this in this state? This was a real process when Dad bought the farm in Rotherham in North Canterbury where my brother farmed. I went there, it was dry and it looked horrible, but I took the soil samples and it was a good contour block, had irrigation and all that. It didn't seem too expensive. Took the soil samples and went back to Dad. I said, you got to buy it. And he goes, what, that is covered in weeds and thistles. And I said, you can't pay for the fertility that's in this land. You could not put it there for that cost. Well, the interesting thing that turned around on that block was he got a valuation for insurance for buildings that were on it, and that was half the valuation of the farm. So he paid for half the buildings, got the rest of the farm for bugger all. And then what turned around with that farm, because of the fertility, when we turned it on, it just became
magic.
Absolute magic. So to know that before you go in there and how you're going to treat it to start with, you can already do your budgets, you can do your costs, you can know exactly what you're going to be dealing with in the first 12 months.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing that when people assess buying a farm, they probably assess really different things. Like what you've sort of said is this is a test of an assessment of potential versus probably what people do, which is an assessment of history of productivity.
Yes.
Like if you're looking at the books.
Yeah, well, I mean, they base, this guy does 100,000 milk solids and this amount of cost and blah, 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 and this is what his Olsen P is and that, and going, fair enough. I want to know what's actually going on, because the total soil test against the available soil test is the most magical tool for knowing whether you can actually really blow this wide open or not.
Yeah, because I imagine when people are checking the accounting books of a farm, the elements of potential, like you've described, are measured in different ways.
Totally.
That's sort of a magical element of it could be something so much more than the books are showing.
Yeah, well, books can be quite imaginary too.
Yeah. And somewhat cooked.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, very good. All right, well, let's go to chapter 6. Follow along with your own hard copy of the book from efa.nz or listen to the audiobook on Spotify and Audible.